To do today is something a little bit different than what we normally do. What we wanted to do today is for both of us to be able to share with you guys the topic of, can anybody read? Praise God, we got some people that can read. Healthy relationships. Somebody say healthy relationships.
Healthy relationships.
So this morning we wanted to share together on healthy relationships, but I want to set this up for you and kind of let you know, kind of give you a basis or a foundation of what we're going to be talking about. So this morning we're going to be talking about healthy relationships, but this is not just for married couples. This is not just for people who are dating or courting or engaged, but everything that we're going to be talking about this morning all ties into our lateral or our horizontal relationships with each other, whether it's friends, whether it's nieces, nephews, whether it's cousins, whether it's family, whether it's aunt, uncle, whether it's parents, whatever it is, healthy relationships. Of course, this goes mainstream along the lines of marriage counseling as well, but this is stuff that's going to help you even with your relationship with God. We want to give you some kind of practical things, and so we thought it would be helpful to do something a little bit different today, to share with you some practical things that I think is going to help in your marriages, but then also in your personal relationships with God. Somebody say healthy relationships.
Healthy relationships.
Do you have anything you want to say before I get started? And so this morning, I want to give you kind of a definition of what a relationship is, again, to kind of lay the foundation for what we're going to talk about this morning. Most of you kind of have an idea of what the word relationship means, but once I looked it up and kind of broke it down, it even gave me a better idea of what it was. And so the first part of the word relationship, you have the word relation or relate. And pretty much what that word means is the way that you are connected to people. What is it that we have in common? How a thing is relevant to something else, the connecting factor. And then the second part of that word is ships or ship. And what that means is it's the condition of a thing, or a thing's conditions, a thing's borders, a thing's boundaries. It also means the result or product of an action. And so if we put these two words together, we wanted to give you two questions to ask yourself about any relationship, whether it's your marriage, whether you're engaged, whether it's your relationship with God, whether it's whatever lateral relationships that you have in life. There's two particular questions that we want to ask, and this is what the word relationship means. The first question is, what brought us together? Because relation is the way people are connected, how a thing is relevant. And so relation, what brought us together? What's the thing that connected us? What's the thing that we had in common that brought us together in the first place? And then the second question is, what will it take to keep us together? And that's the ship, that's the conditions, that's the borders. And so anytime that you make a connection with somebody, you have that initial connection, that initial, what do we have in common? What's relevant? How do we connect? But then the second part of that is, how do we maintain this relationship? Because every relationship has borders and boundaries, whether you've set them consciously or subconsciously. Every relationship has borders and boundaries. But one of the problems that happens is that if you don't set borders and boundaries, then they're just open and susceptible to whatever the other person in the relationship wants to do or deems acceptable within the boundaries of that relationship. Does that make sense to y'all? That makes sense. And so you have to be able to create borders and boundaries in that relationship to say, this is what is acceptable. This is what is not acceptable. These are the things that brought us together. So these are the things that's going to need to be maintained in order to keep us together. Do you have anything you want to jump in? Okay. And so when talking about healthy relationships, one of the things that we can also talk about is unhealthy relationships. And so with an unhealthy relationship, it's similar to If you can imagine, the last word in relationships, a ship. If you can imagine a ship that has cracks and that's leaking and water is seeping in constantly, an unhealthy relationship. And so sometimes in relationships, in marriage, or even again with our relationship with God, we'll notice different areas in our lives that are leaking. We'll notice different areas where we see cracks, where we'll notice areas in our lives that we try to kind of patch over, and we know that patch is not going to last long. We know that it's not a permanent patch, but we just need something temporary just to kind of get us through the day or through the week.
Using duct tape instead of getting the tools
exactly.
and the real pieces that go on it.
Precisely. I heard somebody else say, like, trying to put a Band-Aid over cancer. It's like, it doesn't quite work like that. It's an inside job. And so with a ship that's leaking, that's a parallel to an unhealthy relationship. An unhealthy relationship doesn't necessarily mean, hey, I have leaks, hey, I have cracks. An unhealthy relationship doesn't necessarily mean, hey, we got problems. But what an unhealthy relationship is I see the cracks, I see the holes, but I'm not willing to address them. Let's just act like they don't exist. Let's just kind of push them to the side, or like you said, let's just duct tape it, knowing that this is not going to last. You know what I mean? And let's just act like our problems are not there, or let's just talk about them on the surface. Let's just patch up the stuff on the surface because that's the only stuff that people see on the ship. But the real damage is happening under the water, right? And so you're cool with the water seeping in below surface because you're like, nobody's seeing this, but that's where the real damage is, the parts that nobody's seeing. You can try to piece stuff together as much as you can. You can try to make things look good in public as much as you want, but whatever's happening in secret at some point is going to come out in public. And again, I'm not just talking about marriages. I'm talking about even our relationship with God, or other lateral relationships with parents, with siblings, with friends, all of those things, because we all have friendships as well that we kind of see going down the drain. Is like, is this worth the investment, putting all my money, energy, effort, and time into patching this up, or is this something that I need to let go? Were you about to say something?
No, I was just gonna also piggyback off of you where you talked about the same is with, as our relationship with God. And many times if that is off, that will affect every other relationship. And so even some of those same things that you were saying as far as patching up the ship with duct tape and all of that, I'm pretty sure all of us can attest to doing that even with God, and feeling like, okay, well, I don't really want to address this right now. I'm just going to patch it up. God will deal with this later. And so we create some of those same habits in our relationship with God, and then we're questioning why certain things is not, are not working out with relationships with others. It's because that at the root, which should be, or at the core, which should be Christ-centered, that's off. We patching some things up with duct tape with God, and then trying to take that same habit and action and doing it with our relationships with others. But we have to go back to that core, the center of it, and that is Christ.
Yeah. And I like what she said on that note, just about having that relationship with God first, because I shared this a couple weeks ago, and I think when I said it, a few people kind of gasped and were shocked that I said it, but then I doubled down, and I'm gonna say it one more time. If God wasn't priority, you know what I'm about to say?
I was going to say it this time.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
If God wasn't priority in my life, I would step out on my marriage. Is that what you said? And so he said it on Sunday, but I think it probably shook a lot of people, but that is true. It's like God, for us, even before we began a relationship, we both were making sure that we were accountable to God. And, we let God be that foundation for us. And through him, it directed everything else. And so, we all probably have a past, and it's probably things that we did not address in the past. And so we're bringing it into another relationship when we didn't allow God to heal us in that, within our relationship with him first. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did say it right. So then even in a relationship, again, whether it's marriage or your relationship with God, in those relationships, we'll now we won't say this. Like, I won't go to her and say, hey, my past was crazy. I need healing. I need you to affirm me. I need you to tell me I'm awesome every single day. I need to tell you, I need you to tell me that I'm great. I need you to pat me on my back. Like, I won't say that to her, but subconsciously in the back of my mind, it's like I'll be looking to her to do what God is trying to do.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be looking at her like, I need affirmation. I need for my heart to be healed from brokenness, from past relationships or whatever I've dealt with in the past. And so I'll be looking for her to do that. And even if it's not a marriage, there's other people that we kind of confide in our lives that we look to, and then we're let down when they are not able to fulfill what we're looking for. And it's a term called unrealistic expectations. Because we have this expectation of who you're supposed to be in my life, but then when you don't come through on it, then I'm disappointed. And the reason I'm disappointed because she doesn't have the capacity to heal me. She doesn't have the capacity to change me. She doesn't have the capacity to fix me. As hard as she tries sometimes to whether change my wardrobe or you need to throw that out or you're done with that or get over that or whatever it is, like, she can't change me. The only way that I can change is for me one day to make up my mind and say, you know what, I don't want this no more. I'm going to change. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you fuss at somebody, yell at somebody and give them restrictions and guidelines, they are not going to change until they make up their minds to change. And so again, I'll double down on it. If God wasn't priority in my life, I know how to cheat. I know how to lie. I know how to manipulate. I know how to move things around to make it look like I was somewhere when I was somewhere else. Like, I know how to do, like, this natural. All of y'all know how to do that.
Children know how to do it.
Children know how to do it. Exactly. But the reason I don't do it, and there's two sides to this. The reason that I don't do it is because I love her. Anytime that you genuinely love somebody, then you say, hey, the stuff that hurts you hurts me. So the reason that I'm not going to do something to hurt you is because when I see you crying, I feel like I want to cry. When I see you broken, I feel like I'm broken. But one dangerous place to find yourself in, again, not just marriage, but in relationships, a dangerous place to find yourself in is when the person that you say you love is hurting and you're no longer bothered by it. Where it doesn't affect you anymore, where you can see somebody breaking and then it's just like, get over it, move on. You know what I'm saying? But the bigger picture of that is, because God is priority in my life, then it's not even about her anymore. It's not even about her. Because then it becomes about me. Well, the reason that I don't do stuff that I know I could get away with doing is because I don't want to disappoint God. So even if it's something that she'll never find out about, then I still feel like, God, well, I'm accountable to you, not necessarily to her. But she is a byproduct of my relationship with God. So the only way that I'm able to treat her the right way is because God convicts me on a personal level.
A good illustration that God showed me one time, even just about, our marriage, it was like I was holding God's heart, in my hands because of my relationship with God. He was showing me, like, you have my heart, And so then I kind of saw like a vision of Ty, and I think at the time God was just teaching me some stuff because I probably was frustrated or upset about something. But it wasn't a dream, but I guess it was like a vision, but I was holding God's heart, but holding it like this away from Ty. And God was saying, when you are upset or when you do allow certain things to come between you, it's just like you're taking away my heart from him, because God uses us in any type of relationships to basically express his love to one another. And so you think about that, just imagine yourself holding God's heart, but then holding back on it because you're upset about something, or, you know, that person did something to you. So you got a grudge or unforgiveness or bitterness or something, but you won't allow God's love to be expressed through you to have that restoration or get that healing that's needed for that relationship.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason too why a lot of people are messed up, because again, it's unrealistic expectations. Mm-hmm. You're expecting somebody else to do for you what only God can do for you. Mm-hmm. It's like church hurt is real.
Yeah.
Church hurt is real because you expect, because you're a pastor, because you're a deacon, because you're a minister, because
you're my prayer partner,
because you claim you love God so much, but then you do all of this nasty stuff to me. I can't see God in you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then, how you treat me becomes my perception of who God is, because he obviously put you in my life for a reason. But now that you're being disrespectful and calling me out of my name, then it's just like, God, why would you allow this to happen? Like, is this what you think about me, God? Like, you don't even think enough of me to put somebody in my life to speak well of me, to boost me up. Like, you think so little of me that you would allow somebody to just step on me, that you would allow somebody to just run all over me, and then that becomes your perception of who God is as a result of how other people treat you in your life. And there's a real thing called oppression also. So the difference between depression, which a lot of people are depressed as well, but depression is I am trapped within my own mind. I am beating myself up. Oppression is I'm allowing somebody else to put their foot on my neck. And those are the things, again, that kind of push us away from God. Let me give you a scripture. You can write this down or you can turn it if you want. But in Proverbs 13:12 in the NIV, it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. And so essentially what that means is sometimes when we have hope in people and we're like, man, I know they're going to come through. I know they're going to do this because I trust them. You know, if they don't, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm putting my trust in them right now. But then when that hope is deferred, as in when they don't come through, when you let me down, when what I was expecting doesn't work out the way that I was planning, it makes my heart sick. It gets into my heart. Then I become bitter. Then I become unforgiving. Then I become callous, because now every single time I put my trust in somebody, they let me down. And so the best thing for me to do now is just not to give you my complete trust. Let me see if I can just trust you with a little bit. Can you go to the store and get what I asked you to get without getting a whole bunch of extra stuff? Can you go to work and come home in a reasonable time without me thinking, you know what I mean? Let me try to trust you with the little things, and then maybe I can trust you with some of the bigger things. Do you have anything? This is something that really hit me, and I found this, and I can't take full credit for this, but this is something that I found online with some information about a contract versus a covenant. You know, when we get married, you have prenuptial agreements. You have these contracts that people sign, and like, just in case this doesn't work out, this is who's going to get what. This is who's not going to get whatever. And so we have these contracts, and a lot of people even in a marriage or in a business partnership or whatever it is. Matter of fact, whatever type of relationship or friendship you have, again, subconsciously you create these borders. If I call you and I'm struggling, I expect you to encourage me. If you don't got no words of encouragement for me, then our relationship, our friendship is not going to work. We have these contracts with different relationships in our lives, stuff that's not on paper, but kind of just this understanding of what our relationship is supposed to be like. But there's a difference between a contract and a covenant, and I'm gonna map this out. Before I jump into that, I meant to give this disclaimer. We are not licensed counselors. We are not professionals on marriage counseling. We are still filling this thing out. We've I don't want to say only, but we've been married 7 years, so there are things that we are still learning. So we don't have this all together. There's still some mornings that I'm like, look, I need a few minutes. I don't want to talk to you right now. There's still days that we bump heads on them. I don't want y'all to think like that this is perfect.
Not perfect.
It's not at all. Now I want to say not at all. That sounds bad, but it's not. It's not. So we're still working through things also. But that's just my disclaimer. But a contract versus a covenant. So, and you can read some of these too. Okay. But a contract is an agreement. But a covenant is a pledge. Contract is an agreement. A covenant is a pledge. A contract is signed. You sign a contract, but you seal a covenant. With a contract, you sign it, but then you can decide, I'm gonna cross this out and put my initials and say, hey, I want to amend this part. But with a covenant, you can't even get access to it. That thing is stamped with a seal of approval. You're not even opening that thing up. Here's another one. A contract is mutually, this one's tough. A contract is mutually beneficial, while a covenant is focusing on what I will fulfill. I'm gonna say it again. A contract is mutually beneficial, while covenant is focusing on what I will fulfill. So in a contract, you say, okay, let's find some kind of healthy compromise. If you do this, then I will do that. And as long as you are doing this, I will do that. Let me see. Oh, sweet. Well, I know kids in here. If you give me sex, then I will clean the house. If you don't, then I won't. Right? If you, Dr. Seuss, the first rapper.
Right.
A contract is contingent on us mutual
Benefit.
Mutual benefits, right? But a covenant is I'm choosing to do this whether you are doing your end or not. This is what I am bringing to the table, whether or not you withhold or decide to give me your end or not. You want to read that one?
Yeah. A contract exchanges goods for another. A covenant giving oneself completely to the other. So it's kind of similar to the mutual benefits where, like you say, if you give me, then I will. But giving oneself completely to the other is not waiting on them to respond, but out of your heart, like we say, we're expressing God's love to that person. So we're not questioning, okay, well, they didn't do this for me, so why should I go out of my way and do this? Exactly. Or they didn't buy me anything for whatever day, so why will I get them something, or why would I? But when you are giving yourself completely to the other, in which, let me see if I can pull this up really quick. I'll probably come back to that. I'll come back to that. But I think even in the Bible, it talks about preferring the other. And so you're not so tied up in your mind about, okay, well, what can they do for me? But our heart set should be, what can I do for them? How can I bless them beyond the first time that I did? How can I outdo what I did that first time, or the next time, or the next time? It shouldn't be like, okay, well, I just keep giving, and they haven't done nothing, so I'm going to stop. But when you have, God moving through your heart and leading you to do something, it's without question like, okay, well, I'm going to be a blessing no matter what, and so going out of your way.
One of the best pieces of advice that we got, or in our premarital counseling, was that marriage is not a competition. And even the Bible says that love keeps no record of wrongs. It keeps no tally. You know what I'm saying? And so in that, if there's competition at all, the competition is, how can I outdo you in doing good for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to outdo me in doing good. Like, one of the things that bothers me is when she wakes up before me. because I feel like, wait a minute, nah, like you ain't about to beat me out the bed. I mean, like when she gets up and she's doing stuff around the house, like for me, it's like, all right, I need to get out of bed. Like I'm the man of the house. Like she ain't about to outwork me. But like we're always trying to outdo. If for my birthday she gets me an iPad, then I'm like, oh, I gotta step up my game. I can't just get her a bouquet of flowers for her birthday. I'm gonna have to go above and beyond. And I'm sure, like, and even early in our marriage, I think for me, I would always keep these tallies.
Me too.
Good and bad. Good and bad. Like if she said something I didn't like, all right, I'm come back to that. You know what I'm saying? Like if she crossed me the wrong way, like, all right, I got that. And then y'all know how it is. And then that one day, it tips over or it overflows, and it's just like that drop that causes the cup to spill out, and then everything comes out. You just explode. Yeah, because last month you said everything, and let me tell you, because you were wrong and you shouldn't and it's just like, where is this coming from? What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? And it's like you're keeping these tallies the whole time, but you're not telling them anything that's bothering you while it's bothering you. Again, this is not just marriage.
Yeah.
This is our relationship with God, or these are even friendships. So friendships that we have, sometimes if you're not carrying your weight in the friendship, then I feel like you're dragging me down. You're pulling. I'm pulling more weight than what you're willing to give, and so I don't want to deal with this anymore. Or our relationship with God is just like, okay, God, I'm praying. I'm seeking you. I'm reading my Bible. I'm laying on my face, like I'm doing good to people. You know what I mean? I'm doing everything I know how to do. And I don't feel like you coming through on your end. I feel like I've been asking you for stuff and you've not answered. I feel like I've been expecting stuff to change in my life and you've not brought any change. Like I feel like you're not upholding your side of the bargain.
How many of you had those conversations with God?
That's real.
Yeah, it's real, right? Yeah.
And it's like at some point, again, you start keeping tally, and you're just like, all right, at some point you're just like, all right, God can't be real. Like God, he ain't come through yet, and so I hope deferred. Hope deferred. That was in unison too. Hope deferred, where you kind of have this expectation, but then over time when it doesn't happen, it's just like, now I'm bitter, now I'm callous, and don't know why.
Something important when it comes to that, yes, you need to discern who God is allowing you to have a relationship with, whether it's friendship, whatever it is, but you do need to be mindful of that, and we'll probably get into that. But if God has called you to a relationship, you have to understand when it comes to that and not wanting to keep tally, if God is putting something on your heart to do for the other person, that there is a grace that he's also made available for you to do it. So it was been a few times where, I felt like I was taking on a lot of stuff, just around the house. And I started to complain out of my own mouth about it, getting frustrated with pastor and all of that. But God had to correct me.
You have to say pastor, like the spiritual side. Pastor Ty. Okay. That's what people try to use, like when they try to put you on a platform because you're supposed to be better than that.
Pastor. But I was.
Pastor.
That's your pastor.
Seen that trash fall out of your pocket.
Pastor. And he called himself a man of God. Pastor. So I was getting frustrated, and God corrected my heart because he was saying, well, if I'm showing you certain things, then I've given you grace to do those things. So if you notice trash on the floor, it's not to say that you and the person who you're with shouldn't come to the table and talk about certain things, as far as whatever it is. But if it's certain things that you're catching and then you're finding yourself frustrated, it's like, just do it, and God is saying, I've given you grace to do the things that I'm revealing and showing you. And in a lot of cases, pastor will catch on. He will begin to pick up certain things. So it's not me coming to him, going off on him and saying, you need to do this more, I'm leading by example. That
was a process. It hasn't always been as nice as she worded it just now.
Nope, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
So I'll give you one. So one thing is the dishwasher. Something very natural, something very simple. And so when it comes to the dishwasher, if there's something left out on the counter while there are dirty dishes in the dishwasher, Her thing is, yeah, I'm gonna put it in there, but I'm gonna let you know I'm putting it in there, so that next time you understand.
Look at me put this dirty fork in the dishwasher.
Like, there's dirty dishes in the dishwasher while she's putting it in, and my thing is just like, just do it. Yeah. So for me, when I see something out or when she leaves something out, I don't grab it and say, hey, you left this out again, but I'll put it up. Instead, it's just like, let's do it. So in my mind, I'm just like, just do it. In her mind, it's like I have to let him know so that he'll know better next time. They say that men need to be trained. Men don't want to be trained. men don't like to be trained. We don't like to hear. Nope. This is how you need to do it. So we had to have that conversation. Yeah. We had to sit down and talk about it, because things that you don't talk about at some point are going to explode one day. Yeah. Even if it's something so simple, just like the dishwasher, and you might feel like, oh, this is dumb. Like, why are we even having an argument about the dishwasher? It's not the dishwasher. Trust me, it's not even about the dishwasher. Yeah. So once we sat down. And we had this conversation about it. What it really came down to, I think, is similar to what she was alluding to. Was I don't think you see me. I don't think you see what I'm doing. Like I don't think you appreciate the work that I do around the house. I'm trying to keep stuff clean, and I feel like every time you leave something out, it's almost like spitting in my face. Just like, don't you see what I'm doing? You know what I'm saying? But for me, it's not a big deal. For me, it's just like, well, just put it away. But for me, it's just the dishwasher. For her, it's the dishwasher. It's the trash. It's the room. It's the bathroom. It's the lawn outside. It's everything. And so while we're arguing about the dishwasher, it's like, it's not even about that. All right, let's sit down. What is this really about? Okay, I feel like you don't appreciate me. And once we talked about that, it was like, all right, cool. That's not even a big problem. Let's work on that. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't talk about it, of course, it explodes and spirals out of control, because then you can't even get to the root, because there's so many other things on the surface that you got to comb through to get to what the real problem is.
But see, even as I shared, God had to deal with me first about it, before we could even have that conversation with one another, because it probably would have all come out crazy and wrong and not in love.
Like, see, why you keep leaving stuff out? Because for me, it's like, we're not doing this. You know what I'm saying? And I completely shut down. And it takes me a while to re-up after I shut down. It's not just 5-10 minutes. It's like, good. No, I don't want to talk about nothing. I don't want to talk about the kids. I don't want to talk about going out to eat. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about nothing. Like, once you get your attitude right, you come to me the right way, then we can have a conversation. This is stuff that I don't say to her. This is stuff
I was gonna say, that don't sound familiar. I ain't never heard that before.
You know what? No, to be honest, I think I had to be like really blunt with her maybe one or two times. I can think of one in particular. I don't even remember what it was about. I could just only think about one time where I had to tell her, like, don't ever speak to me like that. Yeah. This was early. Early in our marriage. I don't ever.
Yeah. I was disrespectful. I was.
But I've only had to do that once, where it was just like,
I was like, okay.
But because I'm the type of person that normally, right? She was like, oh, I like that.
Yes. Pastor. You want some water?
Yeah, I need some water. But so I don't remember what I said.
It's only one time, maybe one or two times. But
so naturally, I'm the type of person that I'm real chill. I'm real easygoing. Like, I don't mess with nobody. So don't nobody mess with me. The other day I had to be pretty blunt with somebody, and the response was, man, I feel like you're being pretty tough with me. And I'm like, that's how it comes out from time to time. Like, kind of like Bishop Robinson says, like, I'm a lion and I'm a lamb. And sometimes, most of the time it's the lamb, but sometimes that lion come out. But when it comes to her, for the most part, it's just lamb. But anytime that she sees that other side come out, she's like, oh, I know he's not playing, because he doesn't normally. If she's asking about, hey, what color you want this wall? What decor you want in here? Hey, what do you want to do with the house? For the most part, I'm just kind of like, hey, it's up to you. Whatever you want to do, cool. Just let me know what we need to do, whatever. But anytime that I say, no, I don't like it, she's like, oh, he don't know. He's normally easygoing. He doesn't like it, so I ain't even. And so even sometimes in relationships or even within a marriage, if you know that about your spouse, then you got to be able to pick up on those things. It's like, oh, they normally, but today it's a little bit out of the norm. I need to pay a little bit more attention to this. Excuse me.
I like this one right here where it talks about a contract can be broken versus a covenant, which is a perpetual promise. And it's basically a daily choice. Like daily, I'm choosing this relationship. And through that, it's reflected through my actions, my response to that person. Yeah. And so that's something that I think is very important to be mindful of. You don't just get into a relationship, a friendship, whatever it is, but it's a daily choice. I've heard it said this way: love is what love does. And so what are your actions saying? What are your response? What is your response to that person? Yeah,
it is a daily choice. And some of y'all probably not going to hear this, but so sometimes we, like, whatever happens in that day, we'll carry it over to the next day. It'll just roll over. If you had an argument the night before, then the next morning, whatever that looks like, you still in the same mood or whatever. It's just me personally. Ain't no doghouse in my house. I'm not sleeping on the sofa. I'm not sleeping in another room.
I agree.
You decide you want to sleep in another room, that's up to you. I can't stop you, but I'm not. We gonna figure this thing out because we sleeping in the same bed at the end of the night. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no doghouse. There's no, hey, I need to go to one of my homies' house because this ain't. No, we gonna sit down and talk about it. Like we're gonna figure this thing out. But it's a daily choice. And so whatever happened whatever happened yesterday, it's not to say, all right, I'm going to act like this didn't happen, because it's real. It happened. But today I am making a choice to say, okay, all right, let's talk about this. All right, I know what you did yesterday, but I'm going to choose to still love you through it. One of the things about contract and covenant says that that a contract becomes inactive once a person breaches the contract. Once that contract is breached, you might as well set it on fire, throw it in the trash, because one person chose to breach that contract. But in a covenant, that's much stronger than a contract, which is our relationship with God. And of course, in a marriage is a covenant, not a contract. With a covenant, it remains active even if it's breached. So if one person decides, man, you know what, I don't want to do this, I'm gonna just do my own thing, then the other party says, man, you know what, I'm gonna choose to still love you through it. Even though you did me wrong. Even though this is heavy, y'all, I know, so y'all, some of y'all might not be so ready to hear this. Even though you stepped out on me, I'm still willing to love you through this and make some stuff we need to talk about. Yes, I'm gonna beat you up about it a little bit and let you know about yourself, but at the end of the day, we're gonna talk about it, get it right, and I'm willing to love you through this. If both of us are willing to make it work, we can hash through the details of it, but I'm willing to still make this work. Regardless, even if you've decided, hey, I'm checking out, I'm still all in. And so even if one person breaches, you're still making a decision to say, hey, I want to make this work.
A scripture to go along with that is Ephesians 4:1-3. It says, I therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, and this is the part that I'm highlighting, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. And so even when you think about the word bearing with one another in love, it's a patient endurance. Of course, if you in a relationship, you've had to probably learn how to be patient with that person. But I like how they tie those two words together, a patient endurance. So it's not necessarily an overnight process. And like Pastor says, it's not like a contract with, like, once that's breached, that's done. But even if a covenant, something may happen in the covenant, it's still, help me out, it's still active. And so that's how it is, as far as our relationship with God, because I know he's patient with all of us. Right. And so we're supposed to be displaying that same characteristic with other people. And so just enduring, like he say, if something happens to where it really shakes the relationship, I'm still in it because I love you, and we might have to work through some things, but I am going to endure because I love you. I'm going to bear with you in this love, because it's a covenant, and I don't, it's not a contract.
Yeah, we're gonna finish up in a few minutes, but that's it's a nice segue. You were saying something about come back about our relationship with God. Oh, so this is what I was thinking. One thing that really helped me, I think, early in our marriage, when we would have different disagreements, or when I would feel like she did me wrong in something, I would consider, okay, God, if I were to do something like that to you, what would be your response to me? And then when I consider, like, dang, like, God has been patient with me, just like you said. God has been faithful even in moments and times when I've been like, God, what you doing, man? Like, where you at right now? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, when I feel like I want to give up hope even on God, like, what's his perception of me? Like, when I've done things intentionally, not unintentionally, intentionally, like, clearly map this thing out. Like, I want to do what I want to do right now. I already know the consequences are going to be there, but that's how I'm feeling right now. But still knowing at the end of the day, he's like, all right, I've forgiven you. Then when I consider that, it's just like, okay, but if that's how he's looking at her, why can't I do the same? But it's a little bit tougher because since God is spirit, it's like he sees the spiritual side of us, and so he treats us like spirit, love, patience, faithfulness, and all of that.
Good.
But
That's
because
good.
we're in the flesh, it's like I gotta cut through feelings. I gotta cut through bitterness. I gotta cut through my emotions. I gotta cut through hurt just to get through the forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff I have to cut through to get there. We'll get ready to try to finish up on this part right here. But one of the words that jumped out to me right here with these two words, healthy relationships, is the word heal. Somebody say heal.
Heal.
Healthy relationships. The bridge that connects an unhealthy relationship, or even the transition from an unhealthy relationship to a healthy relationship, is healing. It is healing. An unhealthy relationship, like I said about the ship, an unhealthy relationship is not necessarily one that has problems and challenges. An unhealthy relationship is one that chooses not to heal and recover from the challenges. And so if you say, it is what it is, I'm okay with our situation with how it is, then that's an unhealthy relationship. But a healthy relationship is, I will choose to recover from this. Even if it's a daily thing that's going to take me 5 years to recover, I'm putting forth the energy that it takes to rebuild this. If it's a relationship with your mother, if it's a relationship with your dad, if it's a relationship with your siblings, if it's a relationship with your son or daughter, it doesn't matter who or what the relationship is, making a choice and a decision to say, this is not too bad off that this thing cannot be repaired. I've not messed this thing up so much that it can't be fixed or that it can't be restored. In Matthew 22:35, you don't have to turn there just for sake of time, but I'm going to try to read it real quick. But the Pharisees, Sadducees, these are like the lawyers. These are the religious people of the day in the Bible. These are the people who studied the Word of God so much, and these are like the professors, but they didn't have a relationship with God. These are the people who are studying the law so that they could poke holes in Jesus's testimony and story. But these people, in Matthew 22:35, they came to Jesus, and this is what they said. They said, then one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him and saying, Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? They're trying to trip him up because they're like, if we ask him what's the greatest, he's going to have to be forced to give us just one, even though we know there are hundreds of them. But what is the most important law out of all the laws? And Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first. And the second is like it. You should love your neighbor as yourself. And so what he basically said is we need to work on your vertical relationship with God. He also said that on these two, you can hang everything else. Right now, I'm not thinking about your tithes and offering. Right now, I'm not thinking about praise and worship. Like right now, I'm not thinking about your personal study time at home. Right now, I'm not thinking about how many times you attend church or what church you're a part of. The greatest two, if you focus on these two things, it'll compensate for everything else. To love the Lord your God with all of your heart. My relationship with God is first and foremost. And then the second one, he didn't say this is the second right behind it. This holds a little bit lesser power than the first. He said, no, this is the same as the first. It's just like the first. The second one is love your neighbor just as you love yourself. And so our love for each other and our relationships is a direct correlation of our relationship with God. How I treat you is probably an indication of my relationship with God.
That's good.
Because if I treat you nasty, he's saying right here, the greatest command is to love the Lord your God. The second command is just as strong and powerful, and that's love the people around you just as you love yourself. This is the last part that I'm gonna end on. John 13:34. This is where he threw me a curve with that commandment, because sometimes we'll think like, okay, well, love my neighbor as I love myself. Cool, I can do that. But the problem with that is that some of us don't love ourselves.
That's good.
Some of us don't respect ourselves. Some of us don't even treat ourselves the right way. Some of us don't even brush our teeth. Some of us don't even wash our bottom. You know what I mean? So if I can't trust you to clean your own stink, how am I going to be able to expect you to be able to smell mine and be okay with it? You know what I mean? Like, if you're not okay with your own flaws, if you're insecure, then how can I expect to be open with you about my flaws and expect you to embrace them? You know what I'm saying? And so this is what it says in John 13:34. Now it changes, because now he's not talking to the people trying to poke holes in his story. He's not talking to the religious leaders. Now he's talking to the believer. He's talking to the disciples. He's talking to people who have a better understanding of what love is. And this is what he says in 13:34. He says, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you. He didn't say love each other as you love yourself, because I think he understands you don't really love yourself enough to love somebody that much. Or maybe you love yourself too much and all the attention is put on you instead of them. One thing, side note, one thing that Taryn's stepfather, I was trying to think of a more affectionate term, but one thing that he shared with me when we got married, he's like, I know you're very, you seem to be a very clean guy. You know, you kind of put together and you kind of focus on, you know, what you wear, and you always make sure that your hair is pretty sharp, and I like that about you. But just make sure that same energy that you put into you put more into her. And it jumped out to me because I'm thinking, like, if we consider the amount of time that we take for ourselves to make sure that we're cleaned up and that we're presentable when we go out, and to think, okay, have I done the same for my spouse? Have I done the same for my friends or for somebody that I'm really close to? Have I given them the same energy that I give myself? If I'm gonna stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning working on a project because I know that once I finish this project, there's a check waiting for me at the end of this project, I'm gonna stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning to knock this thing out because I want that money. But then if it's something for her, it's like, well, I stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning to work on something that's gonna benefit her. That's not gonna benefit me. And that'll give you a good idea for how much you are putting into somebody else close to you. But like I said, in this scripture, he said to love them, not as you love yourself, but to love them as I love you. So the way that God loves you, it should just be a clear funnel for him to be able to funnel his love through. But sometimes we allow that funnel to get clogged, and he's trying to get his love through, but it comes through distorted, and we're trying to put God's name on something. You know, well, I have this relationship with God and he speaks to me, and I'm the head of this household, so I'm going to put my foot down, and so he ain't going to speak to you unless he speaks to me, and this is what he told me that we need to do this, that, and you need to listen, because if you don't, then you're not in order with this household, and you put your foot on their neck, and then their view of God is distorted because they're looking at you like, I don't think God would do that.
I don't think God would love me like that.
I don't think God would love me. I don't think he loves me like that. Doesn't look like God, but you my husband, and so let me just do what you tell me to do, and then we have this distorted view of God. You have something else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, along with that, and it's so vital, it's so important when you can see beyond, yourself, and when you are receiving God's love and allowing him to really minister to your heart and then use you to express that love to someone else. When it comes to relationships, you see those differently because it has purpose with it. You know that God is not just bringing me and this person together just to just have us and that's it. It's like, it's a bigger picture, it's a bigger purpose. So even today, if you've not looked at relationships in that way, understand that it's a greater purpose. God could allow me to connect maybe a few months ago or earlier this year, allowed me to connect with a lady, and we were connecting on social media and following each other and stuff like that, and all of that, but allowed me to connect with her to where we're able to talk on the phone. And so it had greater purpose because it was just the timing of that friendship, of that relationship, to where we were able to encourage each other in the things of God. And so if you recognize that certain relationships aren't allowing you to bear fruit and produce certain things, it's time to maybe check some things. Now, when it comes to marriage, I'm not saying that you need to go and get a divorce if you're not seeing something. No, don't be mistaken. That's not what I'm saying. But, there should be some fruit as a result of every relationship that you're in. And so just understand that it's not just to say, oh, I got friends and da-da-da-da, we gonna hang out, we gonna kick it. No, is this relationship helping me to grow? Is this pushing me towards Christ or pulling me away from Christ? And so I think that's something important that we all need to take.
Again, if you're not seeing fruit in your marriage, in your relationships, in your friendships, then you also have to look within yourself to say, have I been planting any seed?
Come on. Have I been cultivating that land? Come on.
If I'm saying she don't treat me right, she don't do this for me, she don't massage me, she don't give me what I want when I want it, she don't come through, she don't whatever. What have I been planting
and watering?
Like, what have I? Y'all know women are wired a little bit different.
We are. Yes, we are.
Like, you had to water.
Come on,
that
sir.
Water. You can go and try to plug a flower.
Come on, water.
You have to make deposits into that bank before you can withdraw anything out.
That's good.
That's how they function. That's how they think. That's how they work. And so, again, that would be my same question. If you're not seeing fruit from it, if it's not going the way you quite planned, then you got to look within yourself to say, okay, what is it that I need to be doing? What do I need to be depositing? Where do I need to be planning to make sure that I'm seeing fruit in that area? If I want more intimacy, then I have to be sowing seeds of intimacy. Seeds produce after its own kind. You can't say, hey, I'm gonna sow a seed of money and expect to reap intimacy. It doesn't work like that.
And even for that, I just want to add to that, I had to change my words and how I spoke about my husband, because things come up and in my mind I'm probably murmuring, complaining about something, and God had to change how I said things. Yes, there might be certain things that I would want him to probably do better or be better in. So instead of me saying like, oh, here you go again, he did this again, or man, he can't get this right, I started speaking the opposite. I flipped it. And that's what you have to do. You have to flip certain things and say, okay, Lord, and start praying differently for that person instead of just pointing out all the negative stuff. Flip it around and start speaking life. Speak life to your garden. Come on.
Yeah, that's good too.
Amen, brother.
That was my train.
Sorry, I threw you off. Speak life, garden, water, seeds.
I don't know. I don't remember. So I'm gonna say this last thing, and then we'll finish up. So again, like we were talking about ships and these ships having cracks. Maybe you're the person who, whether it's marriage, again, whether it's other lateral relationships in your life, best friend, auntie, mom, dad, it doesn't matter. Whether you have cracks in relationships and you've gotten to the point where you say, man, you know what? I don't care no more. It's not worth my time and energy to patch this thing up, and you've gotten to the point where you're just like, I'm gonna just let this thing sink. I'm gonna let it go under. Like, it doesn't matter to me anymore. Don't think that you're still lost, because at that point, that's when you need to be rescued.
Yeah.
That's when you need a bigger ship to come by and say, hey, we gonna pull you up. Hey, jump on board with us. And that's where not just marriage counseling, but even regular or natural
Therapy
counseling and therapy comes into place, where you say, man, you know what, this thing is beyond me. I don't have the proper tools to patch this. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to piece I don't even know where to start. And that's when you need to be rescued. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I need help. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing demeaning about that. Again, early in our marriage, I think for me, it was tough for me to be able to go to her and say, look, this is what I need, or there's a deficit in this area, or I need a little bit more energy from you in this area, or sometimes I need, when I share with you this, I'm kind of expecting you to say, hey, it's going to be great, it's going to be good, kind of encourage me. But you have to have those conversations. But again, sometimes, like, when we get to those moments in our relationships where we just feel like, I don't know if this is going to work, we have to get help. We have to say, hey, I need help. We have to speak out and say, hey, I don't know if you noticed, I've been quiet the last week. Obviously, something is wrong. You being able to pick up on those signs and say, all right, let me change something up. We've been a little bit too busy lately. I'm shutting everything down, and we're going to make some time for us. Again, this is not just for marriage, but even with your relationship with God, to say, man, you know what? I've been so busy lately that me and God ain't had no real talk conversation in a while. Matter of fact, we probably need to do that. So I'm going to take a good hour of my time, an hour that I normally would use with something else, and me and God just going to chop it up. I'm going to take a drive. We're going to do whatever I need to do, and I'm going to just be totally honest and completely transparent, because he knows anyway. And so just to be completely transparent and say, God, I'm not feeling this. God, this is not working. God, I need you to come through, because I'm about to lose it right now. Or it just came back to me. Or even what she was saying about flipping what you say. One of the things that has helped me, and this is the last thing, one of the things that has helped me was anytime I get upset or frustrated with her, of course you have that initial moment where you're just like,
it's like a bee sting.
Like a bee sting, where I don't want to be bothered with you right now, because I'm frustrated. I don't want to hear no jokes right now. I don't want to laugh right now. Like I don't want to be in the same room right now. I don't want you to come and try to massage my shoulders like, hey, it's not, I don't want to be bothered. But in those moments, I find the strength somehow to pray for her. That's what's worked for me. I would just challenge you to try it. You'll be surprised. When I'm frustrated with the kids and they're screaming and yelling, I'll take a moment for myself, but then I'll say, God, I thank you for my kids. Thank you that they're in perfect health. Thank you that they don't have any mental problems. Thank you that they have full range of motion in their limbs. Like I thank God for that stuff, and then it just brings me down. Daniel Tiger says it best. When you're feeling mad and you want to roar,
take a deep breath and count to 4.
And he goes, everybody who got kids has heard that song before. But like, no, Malia ain't gave you that song yet. Come on, Miss Marjorie. But that's what works. That's what works for me. Find what works for you, but that's what works for me. Is anytime I'm upset with, and it's not just marriage, even if it's other relationships, anytime that I'm frustrated with somebody or a situation, then I'll pray for them. If it's my boss, if it's a supervisor, like it doesn't matter, I'll pray for them, and I say, God, thank you for blessing them. Thank you that they'll make the right decisions that'll be best for the company, whatever. And after I pray, it just kind of eases everything about it. If you can pray for somebody while you're upset with them, you're in a pretty healthy place. If you cannot speak well of them while you're upset with them, it's going to take a little bit more work. And again, this is not going to be something that's 5 minutes later I'm doing. For somebody, it might take a whole day. For somebody, it might take a whole week. But another term that we introduced a while back was having a quick recovery time. With some things that we used to bump heads with, it might take a whole day for us to recover. But then we start trying to chop it down. Okay, now instead of a whole day, let's try to restore this thing in about an hour. All right, now instead of an hour, let's try to cut this thing down to 15 minutes, to the point where at some point we can bump heads, and then after we get done bumping heads, like, what you want to eat for dinner? Where you want to go tonight? And we're over it, you know what I'm saying? But cutting down that recovery time to the point where it doesn't take as long to be able to recoup.
Yeah.
Eddie working on that recovery time. He said, that's you. 15 minutes. That ain't bad.
That's pretty good.
That is not bad at all, because for me, that thing was like a whole day. Like, you done threw off my whole day. Like, I need to sleep on it. You done threw off my whole day, but I've chopped that down. I don't want to tell y'all what my recovery time is now. It's,
I don't know, but when you value your relationship with someone, it's like it's not worth it. It's like you're taking like a temporary moment, and it's like it's not worth it when you really put value into it, and you like peace and you like joy, and you know,
it's not worth it. We had bump heads on something, and then we took the kids out to eat, and it totally ruined dinner. I couldn't even enjoy it. Like, Taylor's cracking up. Y'all know Taylor, she's loud. We're in the restaurant, and she's ha ha.
And I don't want to live like
and like
that
I'm
way.
frustrated because she's loud. And then Tyler, he has his food, and he's just like pushing it all over the place. I'm frustrated because he pushing the food. Then I'm frustrated with her because she thinks it's all funny. And like, I had to catch myself and just like, it's not even that serious.
Not even worth it.
Like, just enjoy the moment. And that's, I think, where I think where you can kind of gauge where you are, is looking at that moments where people who didn't even do you wrong, you're taking it out on them. You know what I mean? And that's not a healthy place to where you're upset with your spouse, you're upset with your parents or somebody else, and then everybody who comes, like, you're at work and you're treating everybody like garbage because of that situation. Like, enjoy the moments, you know what I mean? Try to find a way to work through it. Find whatever works for you. Praying for them directly works for me, but find whatever works for you so that you can chop down that recovery time. We got finished.
Okay.
Because we're over our time. You had one more thing?
No, I'm just saying it just really goes back to our relationship with God. So even in those moments, things will come up to frustrate you or, you know, whatever. But it's like, where are you taking those frustrations? God is telling us to come to Him, to cast our cares, lay it down before Him. But sometimes we choose to keep our cares and our worries and our frustrations. And then, like he said, taking it out on everybody else. But it's like, God's like, I didn't call you to carry all of that. Come to me, lay it down, and pick up my peace, pick up my love, you know, and then you're able to then go back and interact with people.
Yeah. Everybody can stand on their feet. We'll get ready to pray. Like it says, cast your cares on me, for I care for you.
Yes.
And another way that I translate that is, God, if I give you all of my cares and my problems, then I'm making you the manager of my problems. And so then if I say, God, you have my heart, you have my feelings, you have my emotions, you have my frustrations, then He cares for us, kind of putting, or using wordplay a little bit. He cares for us is saying, God, now that I've given you all of those things, I'm trusting you as the manager of those things. Okay, so now I'm frustrated. God, I've already given you my emotions, my feelings. Is this something that you want me to be passionate about? No? Okay, I ain't gonna worry about it. Is this something that I need to let go? Yes? All right, I'm gonna let it go. And we trust Him to manage our emotions. All right, do I need to go apologize? All right, I'm gonna go do it. Because we've casted all those cares on Him. We're gonna get ready to pray, and then we'll finish up in a few minutes. Father, we thank you for this morning. God, we thank you for this encounter. God, we thank you for worship even this morning, setting up your presence even for us being able to share this morning. I pray that something that we said will be beneficial to every single person under the sound of our voice, that will be helpful in marriages. It will be helpful in day-to-day relationships, whether it be with coworkers, superiors, whether it be with our families, our friends, whoever, our children. Just help us to navigate these relationships, because Satan would try to get us caught up in our feelings and our emotions. And if he can, it will distort every relationship that we have that you're trying to use to be productive. So we just thank you that you're allowing us to produce, that you are allowing us to grow. I just thank you for using us to be able to encourage these people.